I'll tell Revit which one it is. So the next step in the setup, and most of these you'll only need to do once per project, although the second step you may need to reload that and you actually go through the same step again. But for step 3 here, Keynote Legend, go back to Revit and create a Keynote Legend. Make sure I don't have one. I was playing around with this yesterday. I don't have any legends in here, so I know I'm good. On the View tab, I have, and the screen is smaller, so I got to find all my, there it is, Legends. Got to find my commands. And if you haven't noticed, if you change screens, change screen resolution, change monitors in Revit, it automatically truncates the ribbon depending on how much size you have. So you've probably created Legends already. This time we're going to skip down to Keynote Legend and create a Keynote Legend. You can use the upper Legend command multiple times. Keynote Legend, you probably only need to do this once. We'll create a Keynote Legend. I'll just leave the name default, Keynote Legend. You can customize it if you want. It brings up this dialog box. Should look pretty familiar. It's similar to schedules. There's only 2 possible fields, so Revit already added those in here. I can pick some other ones if I want to. Filtering, I'm going to click Filter by Sheet, and if we have time later, I might come back to this. And that's just going to be up to each company. Might do it a little different, depends on your processes. Grouping, basically, I'm going to leave everything at its default. I might come back later, but it'll work out of the box. Hit OK. It created a Keynote Legend for me. It looks like I'm already using one somewhere, so it's got this value in there. Normally this will come in blank, which is fine. Bear with me one moment. I need to... there's a thing that you can't see that I need to hide. And it won't go away. But there we go. All right, so I'm just going to close this and go back to my floor plan. Actually, let's go ahead and add that onto a sheet. Let's see what I have for sheets. I have a sheet in here. Let's take a look at it. I've got a floor plan on there. If I take that legend, this Keynote Legend that I just created, drag and drop, I'll put it over here to the side. You probably won't do that on a normal project, but this way I can see the legend and the items that I'm tagging. I have some controls. I just some very simple grips. As you can see, it's empty right now because there's nothing in my project. More specifically, there's nothing on this sheet using a Keynote yet. So the next step is to tag items. So let's tag some items. We'll add some keynotes to our sheet. And if I go back to the Annotate tab, it's right up on the same tag panel. I have the Keynote command. I have element keynotes, material keynotes, and user keynotes. Right now I'm going to go with the user keynotes. I'll start off with that one, and then I'll show you how the element command can make it a little quicker depending on how you use it. So I'll start the user keynote. It's when in doubt, always look at your status bar. It's telling me click the object to tag. And I'll hover over. Let me do that again. It's not. Oh, sorry, my bad. I'm still on the sheet. There we go. Okay, I'll start the command again. User keynote, start the command. That's working a little better. As I hover over items, you can see the duplex receptacle is highlighted in blue. If I hover over a window, the window is highlighted in blue. If I hover over a wall, I can keynote the wall. I can keynote the window. Whatever I hover over, it highlights. It tells me that's what's going to be keynoted. And it is associated with this receptacle. I have a couple of options I can do. If you saw the keynote there, I just did a couple of clicks. It's bringing up the box. It's showing me where this box is going to be at. I can put the elbow in there or not. Then it brings up a dialog box. Let's just open this. And this is just a sample electrical sample file or sample notes, not particular to any project. I just made these up because I needed to type something. So let's just go with Keynote 1. Hit OK. There it is, Keynote 1. I'm still in the command. I can tag my next item, whatever it is. Not that you would tag all the receptacles in a room with a Keynote, but I can do Keynote 2 just to have something to tag it with. And you've already gotten the process. These are a little bit big. I can do Keynote 3. So at the end of the webinar, we'll take a look at those. You can change these boxes. I'll hit cancel and the command. There's my keynotes. Makes sense so far? If I go to my sheet, let's see what I have. There's my keynotes, and Revit automatically numbered them, placed them on the sheet. Just the ones I'm using. I haven't used keynotes 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, anything else yet. I've got 1, 2, and 3 on there. What happens if I delete one? Just temporarily activate this view. I'm going to delete. Where's delete? I always use it on the keyboard. There's delete. I'll delete my Keynote 1, and it's gone from my Keynote Legends. It's gone from my list. That's the nice part. It's automatic.
And Jonathan asked the question, Tony, first off, sweet. Then can Revit automatically select specific keynotes when the item is selected?
Well, that's an excellent question. Was it Jonathan?
Jonathan.
And let me check my slides for 1 second. I think that's a perfect segue. So we tag the items. Let me jump to the next slide. Adding keynotes in Revit. Oh, tagging items. We've looked at that. You have user keynote, which is the one that I just did. I also have element keynote, which I believe is the answer to your question. Element keynote. So let me run back to Revit. You go back to the floor plan. So far I've done user keynote. I can just tag this. I can choose any number I want. I'll just do number 4 just to make it fun. Hit OK. I can choose any keynote on any item. Just let me end that command. Now if I wanted to do, how did you phrase it? Can they automatically?
Can Revit automatically select specific keynote when the item is selected?
Yeah, let me do, I think I have this set up for the TV or the GI. One of these I set up. So let me do a element keynote. I'll start the command, and this time I'll choose element keynote instead. I will tag, there it is. I hover over the TV, and it already populates the keynote. I'll select it, put my little elbow in there, and it's done. I don't have to go to that dialog box. If I do another TV, it knows that it's 5. I do have other TVs in here. I'll select that one and the command, and it knows that the element keynote assigned to this object is E05. Although, so there's 2 ways to change that, because I think that is actually pulling it from an older keynote file, because right now I just have the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. I could do it by discipline. You can do that in your text file. We will take a look at it in just a couple minutes. I can do E05 for electrical, P05 for plumbing. I could do F05 for furniture, finishings, however you want to break it down. You can also break it down, 1 through 50 is for interiors, 50 keynotes numbered 50 to 100 are for furnishings. However you want to break it down, you have some options in there. We'll take a look at those.
Then real quick, and I think the question may be already answered, Tony, but you may want to elaborate a little bit. Ian asks, is the user keynote associated with the tagged object?
Oh, good morning, Ian. Yes, it is, in a couple of different ways. I will select my, in this case, it's a TV object. If I use the arrow key, which is nudge, and if you haven't already played with the arrow key, definitely do that. If I hold down the shift, I get whoops. No, I'm still in the command. Shift arrow key, I get super nudge. So the bottom line is you can see it moves along with it. If I delete this item, delete that TV, the keynote went away. That's nice. If you change something, if you delete something, I can delete for whatever reason. Say the scope changed and I'm not going to show any TVs on this floor plan. I can select all my TVs with a couple clicks. Right-click, select all instances, visible in view or visible in project. If I hit delete now, it'll delete all the TVs, regardless of how many are on this floor plan, and their keynotes. So I don't have to remember to come back and look, especially on a busier drawing, did I get all my annotation? Did I get all these keynotes that were tagged with those TVs that I just deleted? And if you've ever been, hurrying up on a deadline, and the changes, of course, are always last minute, you might forget to come back. You might miss something. So that's handy. And not only, I'm going to hit undo. Well,
and he said not visibility, talking about keynote data and item properties.
That's a good question. Let's take a look at that. So I've selected my TV, not the tag, not the keynote, but the object. In this case, is a TV. Look at my properties. I don't see anything there. If I look at the type properties, because you notice they all have the same keynote, there it is. There's my keynote, keynote 05. If I change this, there's that little secret button over here with the 3 dots. If I hit that, this brings up the text file that's associated with
user, not element. He's making it hard on you here.
Oh, user keynote? No. That once you've assigned it, it's just a one-time. Bear with me 1 minute. Let me finish this up, and I'll demonstrate that. So I've changed the keynote here from E5 to 05. And it's changed it, and watch what happens on my view. I'll just hit apply. change it there. In fact, it changed all of those. So hopefully that makes sense. I have user keynote here. Element keynote I've assigned down to these TVs. That's tied to my element. So if I change the element, if I change the keynote assigned to the element, it changes all of them. If I change one of these up here, so what was the original question? Bear with it just 1 minute.
Well, the original question was is gone here. Let's.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's the bottom line is no, it's not tied. I can look at the element properties for that receptacle. There's nothing in here for that user keynote. There's nothing on my instance properties for that user keynote either. Same things applies if I delete it, it goes away. If I move it, it goes away. It moves along with it. These are just a one-off, like an instance property, but they're not actually assigned to the element. So what I did there, let me just show you again. If I select this, and hopefully you can see that it's blue. Sometimes in Revit it's hard to see when things are selected or highlighted.
Yeah, Juliana makes that note there that maybe on the webinars it'd be better in red. So we'll take that under advisement because it's always good to know what you're seeing out there.
And I believe that's actually, I can change it obviously, but and I haven't even tested this, but I think Revit architecture, the default selection number is red, and Revit MEP, the default, because I try to keep most things at default values, the default selection is blue. So if you're used to red, if you're using Revit architecture, that might be why. I know when I learned Revit, it was red selection, and yeah. Anyway, because I do the teaching, I try not to change too many settings away from the default. So I've selected one, and be careful not to double click. If I double click, if you've been playing around with Revit 2013, it opens up the family. So hit no. Previous versions you could double click. Now you have to click once to select it and pause for a second, click a second time. Then it brings up this dialog box. So I can choose this to, I can change it to Note 31. Hit OK. And that changes to Note 31. That's just an individual. This is with the user keynotes, so it's not tied to your element. So hopefully that answered a couple of questions. What's my next slide? User keynote versus element keynote. Took a look at that. Now let's say there's some changes. I want to update the text file. So maybe you're doing drafting, the engineer's doing this, maybe you're the engineer and the senior engineer wants to change some wording, and maybe they use Revit, maybe they don't use Revit. I'm sure, or at least I know I've worked with engineers that are not really Revit savvy, and some that are not always computer savvy. I had at least one, he was getting close to retirement, but still did his red lines, hand drafting, and I've even done red lines and hand drafting. If I'm going to hand it off to somebody, it's just quicker that way. So let's say, well, let's take a look at my sheet. I have my sheet here. I can use these grips to make it a little bigger, smaller. Refer to spec section 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's see, look at Keynote 5. As indicated, install 20 amp GFCI rated quad receptacle on our emergency power. Maybe this needs to be 15 amp. So I need to change note number 5. Oops. Go back to Revit. My note number 5 needs to change. Where do I change that? Well, let's take a look and just verify which. I'm going to look at the Keynote, the text file that I have loaded in here. It's the one I have labeled number 3. All right, that's all I needed to do for right now. I'll cancel that. I'll open Keynote text file number 3. There's my text file. Note number 5, we wanted to change this to 15 amp. Just, whoops, that would be a little high. 15 amp, blah, 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 whatever. These are just notes I made up. I don't need that in there. And you can see I've added, there's extra spaces, there's extra periods. Those are allowed. It's the tabs that are very specific, the syntax is specific with. So let me save this file. Now I do need to go back into Revit and reload that file. Let me go back to my sheet and watch as this changes. So right now it says 20 amp file. I'll go to my Keynote settings. And it doesn't matter whether I changed one word or if I changed an entire paragraph, or I could have changed dozens of Keynote text. Same step, just reload this file, hit OK, watch what happens to Note 5. Or not. All right, let me do that again, make sure I grab the right one. I did, oh, I have 2 of these. Why do I have 2 of these? I don't know. Let me do this one and make sure I saved it to the right place, which is important. oh, I didn't put it in my project folder. I need to save it here into my project folder because that's the one that Revit is looking for. So when I reload my Keynotes, there it is. It's in my project folder, number 123. Choose that one, hit OK. Reload that. Now it's changed to a 15 amp.
There you go. That's
a little better. So syntax is important, and pointing to the right file is important. Make sure you're working on the right file. So it's a very simple process. Let me reopen my text file. I just need to change the text in here. I can make this 48 inches. I can change this. I'll save it, reload it. I can change that at any time. You can change them all at once. You can change one number. That time I only changed one digit. Or you can rewrite entire paragraphs. Let me go into that for just a second, unless you had something to add, Stan.
Yeah, there's a couple of comments that you can just hit the reload button, and yes, you can. You know, that you don't have to browse for it each time. You can just hit the reload button. So good comments there. Question for later. Okay, let's hold off on Jonathan's question for a little bit later here, since he says it's a question for later, and we'll get to that towards the end. So keep going, sir.
Alrighty, and actually let me jump back to Revit and address that. I see a couple people said, can you or can't you just hit reload? In previous versions of Revit, you actually couldn't. If I just hit, previous versions I had to browse, so I've changed this. Oh, I don't have a note on there for 48. Let me quickly tag something with a, no, what was that note? It was 30, okay, it was 31. And I hit save on that, so let me see if 31 changes from 68 inches to 48 inches down here, and I'll just hit reload. Previously that wasn't an option, and I'm still in that habit because it didn't work before. If I hit reload, hit OK, see if the 68 changes to 48. Okay, good, it works now.
Good shortcut there. Thanks, Juliana, Greg, and Wanda. And Matt asks, can you describe the syntax in greater detail? The syntax in greater detail.
Well, thank you, Matt. That's an excellent question. You can change it, and I just covered this. You can change the text. You can customize it for every project. Maybe the spec is different, mounting heights are different. You use some notes, you use others. Syntax is important. And if you've played around with this, you probably got burned by that and maybe even gave up after running into warnings and errors and things working or not working. So let's take a look at that. I did put this together. I'm actually not going to spend a whole lot of time right now on this, but if you want, I'll give you an email address at the end of the webinar. And if you want a copy of this, I can just print this to a PDF and send this to you. This is just some things to keep in mind when working with the syntax. At the top in the blue box, I mentioned when I pulled up the text file earlier, I have my discipline declarations. In this example, I use mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and I also added fire protection specifically because it has a space in it. You can use spaces in the discipline field, but when those disciplines are used later, which is at the end of every line of text after a tab button, I've kind of boxed it in blue here, but they're not all aligned, that spelling has to match exactly. Like down here I have fire, space, protection, initial caps, and what burned me, so that's why I'm mentioning it, is happen to have a space at the end of this or space at the end of the discipline up here. Revit considers that another character. If it doesn't match exactly, then it's not going to work. So these characters have to match exactly.
And how do we, Jonathan wants to get a hold of a copy of this, and I'm sure many other people will. How do you recommend we do that, Tony?
I'm just going to give you an email address, and it's going to be webinars@cad-1.com, and I'll repeat that. I'll show it on the screen later.
Yep. Send us an email to that though, and we'll get that out to you. Elaine asks, if you remove a note from the text file, will it automatically be removed from the drawing when you reload the file?
That's an excellent question, and I will cover that in just a minute, and if I don't, Stan, feel free to remind me.
I'll hold it on the screen here for a bit until we get there.
Alrighty. Yeah, so she asked if I remove one of these notes, say E05 or M01, whatever, it'll stay listed, the number, well, the short version is the number will stay listed, but gives you a blank in the text part. So it kind of keeps it, and then you can obviously see that you've deleted one that was still in use. So it's just kind of helpful. Just a little more on the syntax and the structure of the file briefly. At the top blue box is my discipline declarations, and I believe you can also put these throughout. Maybe I could put just electrical at the beginning of the electrical section, put the word mechanical at the beginning of the mechanical section, put the word plumbing at the beginning of the plumbing section. I have not played around with that, so I can't guarantee that for sure. So at the top I have my discipline declarations. The next lines, in fact the rest of the file, is the keynote number, this first blue box, and then a tab, and then the keynote text, whatever you want to write, can be as long or short as you want, and then a tab, and then at the end on that same line, the discipline, whether it's electrical, interiors, plumbing, whatever. And you can see the rest of this file is the same thing, the number, the text, and discipline, all the tabs in between them. You see M05, I have a lot of text in here. You can have multiple lines of text. You can write out paragraphs. Just don't break the line in between. Just let it do the auto word wrap. And then a tab, and then a discipline. Let's see, discipline, I think I've covered most of this, and I can send you the file. I'll give you the address again. If you let me know right now in the questions, I will probably forget. So that's what you just send an email. Did you have a...
I just posted the email address to everyone, so everybody should be able to see that. This webinar is being recorded and should be on our website archives page later too, so that you can tune back in and watch this, or have somebody else watch it if you like to.
And Stan, you did hit record, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay. I've reminded myself, a dozen times yesterday, reminded myself this morning, remember to hit record. I'm like, not a problem. I'll remember that. And so this morning when it came time for it, I forgot. So thank you, Stan. So we looked at this. I can send this out. We do have some options. So far we've looked at just working in the text file as a text file, working with it in Notepad. I do have a couple of options. First one is obviously working with it in whatever your text editor choice is. You can do a spreadsheet. How much time do we have? I can spend a few minutes on this.
We have about 20 minutes, so I'm not sure.
Okay, I'll look at it briefly. That'll be about right. So you can do it as a spreadsheet. And I've definitely worked this way. It can be useful. And let me jump into it. And it's tab delimit, and forgive me because I will say this word wrong every time.
Yes, tab delimited.
I've probably said it wrong already. Let me go back to Revit. Let me open Excel. Where's Excel? There's Excel. And let's say I have a keynoting file. This should look familiar. It's similar to the file that we had up there. I have my disciplines declared up at the top. I have numbers. In this case, I did F01, F02. You can just use straight numbers. It's up to you as long as it's consistent. I have my numbers, the text, and then the discipline again. And if anyone's looking closely, well, so let me not get ahead of myself. Similar structure to the file, but it's in columns. So if you have somebody else helping you, a senior engineer, intern, whoever, they don't have to pay as close of attention to the syntax and worry about where the tabs are. They can just type in this field. And then what I'll do is export it or do a save as. Do a save as to tab delimited. See if I say it right. And see if I can, where is it? There it is. Tab delimited text file. Just export it to that. I can give it a name. Keynote master text file. That'll work for this one. You see I have it in, I don't have it in my project folder. Put it in my project folder, Keynote master, whatever you want to call it. And there is a reason I'm calling it Keynote master. So I'm exporting it as a text file. Put it in there. Hit OK. It tells you this is a text file, not an Excel file. Okay, fine. Hit OK. There we go. Make sense so far?
It does, and tools like DataGate are excellent at managing this kind of data and washing it back and forth between Revit and the spreadsheet or data file.
Yeah, that's true. If something changes, I have to export this. It is another step, but using the spreadsheet helps to alleviate some of the potential errors, especially if you have multiple teammates on it, whatever. And you can even go one step beyond this. If anyone noticed, when I clicked on these fields, I click on F01, it doesn't actually show me F01. This is a brain freeze formula. It's pointing to another spreadsheet. So I have this, and that's also why this is called master. If you notice, it's pointing to another spreadsheet like furniture. I have furniture and interiors. This one is the live spreadsheet. This is the one that I can share with the principals, senior engineers, the designers, consultants, whoever, that I may or may not want to touch Revit. I can lock this down so they can't change the first column, can't change any other columns. I can lock it down so they only have permission to change this middle column. They can type anything they want in here. Cabinets must be to be, I'm just going to change this so you can see what happens, to be provided, and I cannot talk and type at the same time. It's provided by, what was I going to say, owner, just making stuff up. See, I told you. There we go. Provided by owner. Okay. If I save this file, save it. I look in here. File cabinets to be provided by owner. It automatically updated that. I can do my export again to the save as master text file. Hit OK. Replace it. Yes. Formatting. Yes. 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 So this is This is one of the options. I can do this as a text file. If you want, well, actually, this will can also answer. I forget. Somebody had a question. If I reload this file, watch what happens to my keynotes. I have keynotes 2, 3, 31, and 5, which are show up here automatically, and they all have text. If I reload this, annotate keynote settings, reload my file, and if I reload the same file, just hit reload, this is now a different file than the one, let me back up, I will browse now to that master file, which has my furniture notes in it, and does not using these numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When I hit OK, it gives me some warnings. They're warnings, not errors. Warnings you can keep going. Errors will cause you to stop working. Hit OK. Now these keynotes are still assigned. See, the numbers match 2, 3, 31, 5, but there's no more text assigned to them because now the keynote file that I happen to browse to is not structured that way. I can change these. I do have a keynote 5. Oh, let me go back to my floor plan. My 5, remember, don't double click, but click once, click twice. I have an interiors or furniture I05, interiors note 5. The furniture is the one that I just changed file cabinets to be provided by owner. Hit OK. So now that is assigned to F10, and now I have my text in there. If I look at 31, I can change, oops, too far. Change my note 31. I can, quick way is to change on that. Quick way is to click on it to change it. Make 30, note 31, whatever. Just F05. Click on something random. F05, and that fills in this field. So that's what happens if you change the keynotes. If you delete a keynote, you will get this exact same behavior. The note will still show up here, but on my sheet, on my list, it comes in with the blank text.
Tony, we've got a couple questions.
Okay.
Juliana asks, it is not clear on the element keynote sample how you tag the element. Is the keynote pre-filled in the family with some keynote element parameter? And then in parentheses, EO5, the TV sample. And then she also asked, can you show the bottom of the syntax PDF? I think she wants to see something down there that is towards the bottom of the sheet.
Yeah, and that's, yes, I can actually. I was going to say because of the way GoToMeeting is working, it's cutting off the bottom of my screen, but I can bring it up a different way. So yeah, I'll show you that in just a moment. Out of the box, I don't believe it has any keynote elements assigned. This is an out-of-the-box GFCI outlet. If I look at the type properties for that, I have nothing assigned to that GFCI. I can either assign it here, and you can assign it in your template, your project template, before you even start a project, or once you've started a project, you can go into your families and assign something here. But out of the box, it's generally not assigned, but you can certainly do so. Once I do this, then it will be assigned for the rest of my project. I'll do just I-10. I'll assign that to, not that you would assign that to a duplex receptacle, but the process is the same. So now I've assigned that Keynote I-10 to my duplex receptacle, and now if I do the Keynote element Keynote tagging, it already has that populated in there. So I'll tag my GFCI, it's I-10, tag more GFCIs, they're all coming in at I-10. Hopefully that answers the question. So let me bump back to that just for a moment. This is at the bottom of the syntax rules. Hopefully you can see that. It's a lot of repeat of what I covered earlier. The top is a declaration, one discipline per line, hard returns. You can separate between there. I've been doing that. The hard returns just for visibility. You can add spaces in places as long as the tab immediately precedes your discipline.
And again, it should be on your chat box and so forth. If you want a copy of this, please just email us at webinars@cad1.com, and we'll be happy to send it out to you.
So we've looked at a couple of options. We've looked at the text editor option. We've looked at a spreadsheet. If you want to, if that seems like something that might work for your company, feel free to explore that option. The third one is actually, I heard about it a short time ago, and I've just downloaded and installed it last night. There's a Keynote Manager. It's a third-party plugin. You could just Google Revit Keynote Manager, and I've found it every time just by Googling that. This is the full web address, and I believe we have the designer, the writer, the coder online. So welcome to, and Stephen, I almost forgot his name.
Stephen Faust.
Stephen Faust, who I believe is a local Colorado gentleman, an architect. So let's take a look at that one.
And before you jump out of there too quick, Greg asks, will you cover how to change Keynote symbol on the drawing? Can you use circles or other shapes?
Yes, you can. That's actually my very next slide.
And Steve is from Littleton. Steve
Okay.
Faust.
Welcome, Steve, from Littleton. Where was I? Oh, yeah, Keynote Manager. Okay, so I have, and bear with me because I just started playing with this last night. Let me start it up. Keynote Manager. Oops, get back. There we go. Keynote Manager. I did a 10-day trial. It's, well, you can, and I'm hopefully not, well, I'm not going to give a number because I know I'll misquote it. There is a, I believe there's a free version with ads. There's a paid version which is not very expensive, per version, per license. You can look it up.
I just posted in the chat box Stephen's email there, the keynotemanager.revolutiondesign.biz.
Okay, so I have a file that's already loaded. It just remembered whatever I had yesterday. So for this project, I believe it's even in the right project. Oh, tells me the folder up here. I'm not going to, well, I'll hit browse. And so, Stephen, the only thing that I have that I had a hiccup with is it goes to my documents library. So there's probably a place for me to specify the default. So it didn't go to the last, it didn't remember the last used place. That may be because I just haven't played with it enough. So I'm going to hit cancel just to save some time. I have a file already loaded. You can see I have KM is in the end of it. I've expanded electrical. Let's just add a note. So I right click, add a note. I'm going to add a sequential note. It automatically knows the number E07, although I can change it if I want to. I can put in the description. I have no idea what to type. I'll just place conduit, if I can spell, here, whatever. I don't want to change the casing, so I have these options in here. I can put in special characters, your degrees, plus or minus. If you haven't used special characters in Revit, just a 5-second tangent. If you've used AutoCAD, %D gives you the diameter symbol. % will change to a percent symbol. Revit does not use those. Revit uses standard Windows-based custom, or not custom, but standard character maps. So if well, let me just open this. You can see if I want a diameter symbol, if I want the degree symbol, 45 degrees, they are in here. You can find them, whoops, too far. I don't, well, there's a bullet. I don't see the note right now. I'm just going to hit OK or cancel that because I don't need one right now. But if I needed to, I can go right directly here. There's also alt codes. If you haven't used that, just Google alt as an ALT, codes, C-O-D-E-S. Google alt codes and you get the extra characters. You know, if you hold down alt 0176, I think it's the degree symbol. Anyway, end of that tangent. So I'm in the electrical. I added Keynote E07. I type something in there, hit OK. It automatically adds it. And I believe when I close this, it saves the file. If I go to Revit, now I need to reload the file because that's actually a different one. Keynote settings, I would reload it, or just browse to the right one. This one is KM. This is the one that I just changed. You can even see the date, or the date and time is right now, 10:51 a.m. Hit open. I'm reloaded to that file, and now as you can see, everything's been cleared out. If I add another keynote, getting a little sloppy in here. Let's just add a keynote on this clock. User keynote. I'll tag my clock. Put something in there. I'll do electrical, and there's my note E07 that I just typed. So now I don't have to worry about the syntax at all. It just provides a much better interface than a notepad. So this is Keynote Manager. There we go. Keynote Manager is a third option, a very useful option, and it's not very expensive.
And just real quick, Gabrielle, you're always welcome to move up to the front of the class if you like, but nonetheless, I got a chuckle out of your comment there. Gabrielle says, for those of us who sit at the back of the class and don't pick everything up the first time, where can we go to rewatch the recording of this lesson? I'm not sure exactly when it'll get posted in the next day or so. It will be posted to CAD-1.com/events/archives. Just go to the events archive section of the website, and you'll see all of that posted there. And then I am also going to post another resource that Juliana forwarded over to us here. And I'm not real sure what exactly it is, but I assume it's to do with the Keynote editing, and so I'm going to post that as another resource that you might find helpful in working with the keynoting. And thank you, Steve, and for your allowing us to show your product briefly there, and thank you, Gabrielle, for alerting us to this product as well, or this site as well.
And just FYI, the altcodes.net, that's a resource for the tangent that I went into. Like if you're looking for a diameter symbol, degree symbol, plus or minus, there's a resource there. And there's all over the internet. But thank you, Gabrielle. All right, so there was a question, how do I change the Keynote, the shape of it, make a circle, hexagon, flag? Let's take a look at that. Open the Keynote tag.rfa in the Revit Family Editor. A couple ways to do that. The easiest way is probably to select it and edit family. Alternatively, I can find my families, expand that, expand annotation symbols, and look for the Keynote tag. It accomplishes the same thing in the end. I will click Edit on that. It opens a family for editing. And as you can see, I have a label. This is just the parameter, the text, not text, but a parameter label, a value. And it's pulling the key value. This is what's in whatever, whether you do user keynote or element keynote. And since I'm not using spec for the sample value instead of that long number, and this is just a sample value, it doesn't actually appear anywhere except in this text editor, I'm just going to put an A1. That's a little better. And I have this box here, which I should point out, you can change the size of the box without even going into your editor. Let me go back to Revit. I have this box in here, and you can see all of mine are very short, 2 or 3 digits. If I select the tag, edit the type, there's a value in here. Let's do 3/16. I can change the box size just by changing and typing in a value. Hit OK. It's a little small. I can edit type. Let me do 5/16, whatever. I can just change that value quickly. That's just out of the box. You don't even know how to use Revit families. But if you want something other than a box, I can edit this family. I'll go right back to this one. I can blow this away and put in Nope, I lost it out of the let me do a circle then. I was going to try and do a hexagon. I'm going to go online. I'll just draw in a circle. You can draw in a hexagon, but then you can see just how badly I am at drafting anymore. I'll get it roughly centered. If I load this back into my project, we're at the either in this case either one is fine. And now I have a circle. If you wanted a flag, you can put in a triangle. If you wanted a hexagon, you can use a hexagon. It's just that easy. And remember to save this. I recommend saving it to a library, a company library. This is just your Keynote tag. If you have a, where am I going? Save as, family. Sorry, I can't talk and type at the same time. If you have company standards, I recommend putting in your company name, initials, a 3-letter acronym, maybe not the whole name, but most companies have a 3-letter acronym they can use at the beginning of the file or even the end. Then I know this is the company standard. This one has been approved. This one's been blessed. This one's been modified if necessary. Even if it's exactly the same as it was out of the box, if I'm another user, I'm not the BIM manager, I'm not the family editor, I can see this one and say, okay, this is our official standard or one of our official standards if I see the initials at the beginning of it. If I hit OK, and it's in there, then put on the network library location, anyone can use that. Stan, are there any questions on?
There's a couple here. Kind of Elaine, we'll get back to Elaine's question in just a second, and then Jonathan had a question anyway for dynamic sizing of the box depending on the length of the Keynote text string.
Not that I've done. There may be a way to do it. Pardon me. But it's not something that I want to bring into the scope of this webinar, of which I have 3 minutes left. So not easily and not that I'm aware of. The only way before I reloaded it, I could just type in the size of the box and then it changes all of them. Sorry. So let me try and jump back to my slides. So I can change the box to a hexagon or a circle, whatever your standard is. It's the Keynote tag.rfa, just that family. Stan, do you want to say something while I'm talking?
Juliana makes a note that you box the label in the family, and so that's something that, frankly, that's a good point. We'll have to give that a try here.
Yeah, that actually let me hit undo back to.
You check the box in the text settings. So.
Yeah, I think I may have spoken too quickly then.
And then Elaine Backman asks earlier, if you remove a note from the text file, will it automatically be removed from the drawing when you reload the file?
Going back to the last question, there is in the type properties, I can show this as boxed or unboxed. It's one of the options. And the second question was, reloading. Yeah. It will unload it from the sheet. You can see because I changed I effectively deleted all my notes except that one. It does not delete it from my floor plan. It does not delete it from my Keynote legend. But the text value, the note itself, is deleted from the legend. I hope that answered the question.
Yep. She said it was already answered, so I just missed it. You said you'd come back to it later. Can the leader be changed to an arrowhead?
Short answer, yes. In your element properties. And sorry if I sound a little brief. I'm just looking at the time.
And Jonathan, let us do this. Let Tony, and what we'll do is for all of your benefit, we'll add the instructions for making that box dynamic just so you have it. We'll add it onto that PDF about the syntax. We'll just type it in there, the instructions to do that, so everybody can get it and make it dynamic, since we're coming to the end of our time for this webinar.
Well, that was the one, if I'm understanding correctly, the question correctly, I don't know that you can make it dynamic.
Well, according to Juliana, you can.
Okay. You can make it hide and you have some options. There's a checkbox on that.
We'll check that out and get the instructions printed on that syntax sheet.
So just a quick review. This is what we covered. We looked at the project setup. You add the text file to your project folder, tell Revit where that text file is at, which one to use. We added keynotes to our plans. You have some different options for the text file itself. You can use a master spec out of the box. You can create your own with however you want to use it, as long as it matches the syntax, which isn't too hard once you get the hang of it. You can use a spreadsheet and export that to tab delimited text file. And we have a third-party Keynote manager from Mr. Faust. And the last thing I covered just now was changing the annotation family. You can make it circle, hexagon, whatever. So I guess we've been answering the questions all the way through.
And I'm going to expand the chat box there and leave it on the screen for a little bit so you can copy down those links if you want to, or do a screen capture of them before we go.
And if you were typing a question, I'll just give you just another minute to finish typing a question and send out a kudos. Can I do a shout out to somebody in the same room?
Sure.
Okay. Stan just did, what was it, a week ago? You bicycled 150 miles.
We did, yes, for the Courage Classic for Children's Hospital. So that was a fun event. 3 of us here from CAD-1 did that. Myself and Kelly Merrill and Denny Cox all did that, and a lot of fun.
Good. So 150 miles. So I could go 150 meters maybe.
Well, I'm also doing an Ironman triathlon in November, so I did 90 miles on Saturday alone this past week. So, you know, we're a little bit weird.
You know, I did the math, I think, in my head a while ago, and 150 miles, and I did conclude that I have gone 150 miles on a bicycle in my lifetime. Maybe even more than 150.
Well, listen, folks, thank you very much. We appreciate you attending the webinars. Hope they're some good benefit to you, and we will leave this up for a little bit so you can copy down those links. And Tony, thank you for your time. You rock as well for all that you do here at CAD-1. And the recording will be posted in a couple days. It usually takes us a little bit to post-process it and then get it posted up. And hopefully it will be on our CAD-1 YouTube channel. So look for that. And thanks very much.